show starts in 1 minute. Good evening, folks, and a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family.
Like 9 out of 10 film stars, Raquel Welch uses Lux Beauty Soap.
Well, no, I like to be a woman and a man to be a man, you know.
We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. You love the tasty array of snacks we have to offer. Bring your friends. There are always wonderful new pictures to see. We hope you have a wonderful time.
Welcome, one and all, back to another episode of The Longhouse, the NPR for the sensible centrist. This time, it's going to be a little bit different, I guess. It's going to be a bit more of a discussion episode, and we're going to have a bit of fun. We've bashed the boomers. I've bashed the millennials. I guess we've bashed Gen X as well. And now it's the Zoomers' turn on the chopping block. We're going to be looking at some articles talking about what the Zoomers are, talking a bit about their culture, their challenges, their differences, etc., etc. Luddic Path, welcome back. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing well. I think this episode has been a long time in the making. The basis for a lot of these episodes are just like Telegram chats, and I've been using the gym at my workplace, which is also like very close to a football stadium, meaning that it's a very public area, and like the Zoomer conscription of my workplace gym has just been insane, and like all of the Zoomer hates that I've built up over time. It's sort of the basis for why this episode comes about. But before we go into some of the
I say I have specifically chosen a gym that is a bit out of the way and is a slightly more expensive than the cheaper gyms to get away from all the Zoomers.
No, I mean my gym is not that cheap, so it seems like price is not an issue for them. But before we get more into it, we could introduce the other panelists.
Of course, Burkarl, making your first appearance this year on the Longhouse, I think.
Yeah, been a bit busy. I just came from the gym, and it is one of the more cheaper gyms in town, and it was full of Zoomers, so...
Yeah. And as well, Leo Borealis, have you been on the show this year, or is this your first one once again?
Hello. No, I think I bowed out the last one.
That's true. Yes, you wanted to be on the Machiavellian stream, but something prevented you.
Yeah, I was sick, so I was having the sniffles. So
I think he was on the first Burnham episode.
He was.
Yeah,
Last year.
That's right.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, maybe it
so.
was. Maybe it was.
Yeah. Okay. I see the chat is already throwing down the Zoomer lingo. Nordhuger for $2 says the new COD Battle Pass sucks. This shit better for real. On God, Nordhuger. On God. I think we're just going to jump straight into it. And I wanted to begin with an article that just, in the broad sense, talks about what the core characteristics of Gen Z is. This is one of those like random US foundations that, once a year or something, or every couple of years produces like, what are the Zoomers? What are the next generations? And they're targeting usually, politicians, corporations, brands, etc. Just trying to pin down, okay, how do you reach the kids, right? But I think some of these, and especially one of them, which is more like a survey data collection, is going to give us a lot of insight in how the Zoomers think and what maybe some of their challenges are going to be. Anything you want to say in general, Ledig Path, before we start about the Zoomers? What do you think about them?
No, I mean, demographics are always fun, right? And we can't assume that everybody who watches this show knows exactly what we're talking about. I almost caught myself just starting to ramble about Zoomers, but I mean, we might need to actually define what the hell a Zoomer even is, right?
Yeah.
So
it's generally defined as a person born after some say 1995, some say 1996, some say 1994. I'd probably personally lean more towards 1996. Some people use the definition, do you remember 9/11, as a Zoomer versus millennial divide.
That's the sort of
And
America-centric one, though.
that's true.
So,
That's true.
but I guess these age categories in general are anyway. So
They are very much, and I was going to say that, for me, being a younger millennial, as you would say, closer to the Zoomer generation, in theory, I should probably be closer to a Zoomer, but that couldn't really be any less the case. I mean, I have people that I know that are a couple of years younger than me, meaning they're full Zoomers, and the divide between me and them is so large. I feel more at home with Gen Xers than I do with any Zoomer, or any Generation Z, as they're called.
So I'm a millennial. I mean, I'm just like in the middle millennial. 1990, end of history. And I've always had, like you said, there's been sort of a divide between me and the Zoomers. I've used the "Do you remember 9/11" definition myself. It's probably the closest or best heuristic I have for pointing out the Zoomer.
Yeah.
The other thing would be like let's say you've grown up with like Web 2.0, for example.
Yeah, that's true. If you remember a time before the web as well, I think is a good divide.
Yeah, exactly. So time before the web, 9/11 would be one. I mean, we're going to go into a lot of the other divides that, at least for me, I've sort of picked up interacting with these Zoomers online and offline and so on. So I don't know, Leo, do you have any comments on the millennial Zoomer divide?
In my time, we had brooms. No, I don't know. I mean, it's such a weird thing. I think the 9/11 thing is kind of a good dividing line to be honest. Really, I mean, I would say that the first war that I have any kind of recollection of is the invasion of Iraq in Operation Desert Storm. But then I was just really young. I just remember it was on the TV, one of those big TVs.
Yeah, I remember that too. So that's probably my first sort of big happening memory would be something like the Desert Storm, right? And then followed by the 9/11 stuff. Okay, I'm just going to bring up the article, and we're going to get going, and we'll just sort of see where this takes us. I think I've also done a lot of work compiling a lot of Zoomer lingo, so we'll go through that as well. Okay, I'm just going to start reading from this article, and then stop me if you have anything you want to say. Generation Z has emerged as a population increasingly worth of attention, especially now as its older members are in their 20s and have become a politically engaged force in recent elections. Born after 1996, Generation Zs made up 1/10 of the 2020 electorate and have added 8.3 million newly eligible voters since November 2020. While they share a number of characteristics with millennials, their formative years have been shaped by a drastically different world, resulting in key differences in attitude, tendencies, and outlook. Statistics compiled by the Pew Research Center and the Kids Count Data Center paint a clear picture. Here's what we know. Diversity is their norm. One of the core characteristics of Generation Z is racial diversity. As America's demographics continue to shift, Gen Z will be the last generation that is predominantly white. As Gen Zers grew up during 2000s to 2020, the share of white kids fell from 61% to 50%. Children in immigrant families grew more common too, jumping from 19% to 25% of the country's child population during this time frame. The oldest Gen Zers turned 18 in 2015, and the latest data for young adults ages 18 to 24 in 2020 showed that a slight majority are 53% white, 23% Latino, 14% Black, 6% Asian, 3% are two or more race groups, and 1% are American Indian or Alaskan Native. For many Gen Zs, the backdrop of their early years included the country's first Black president, the legalization of gay marriage. They're more likely to have grown up amid diverse family structures, whether in a single-parent household or a multiracial household, or a household in which gender roles were blurred. As a result, they are far less faced than previous generations by differences in race, sexual orientation, or religion. Any thoughts?
Yeah, perhaps no wonder. I mean, they're eating more SSRIs and stuff like that than any other generation
We'll
before.
get to that too, but yes, it's all connected, right? I think especially the huge increase in single parent household have done a lot of damage. And now, we're making broad generalizations here. I just want to get this out of the way before we get any like weird comments of like, yeah, well, I'm a Zoomer and I'm not like that. Yeah, but we're making generalizations about a vague age group and how their life has been. Just because you are different, or because maybe you lived somewhere where this stuff weren't very prevalent during your upbringing. I mean, you're lucky. Congratulations. You don't have to share it with me. Don't post a comment, okay?
But I had breakfast this morning.
But I had breakfast this morning. Yeah, exactly.
How would you have felt if you hadn't had Dad?
But I had breakfast.
But I had a dad. Yeah.
Yeah. We are for like this show is like for people on the right side of the bell curve, basically. If you can't entertain hypotheticals, then just stop watching. Go back to TikTok.
Go back to TikTok, yeah. Go back to your algorithmically fed ghetto. I guess we'll get into that. I don't think this is like, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this. It's just, a fact that something like America is diversifying, as it were. But it's going to, and we'll see that when we get to the language stuff, because I put in a lot of work compiling a lot of Zoomer lingo and tracing their origins, because I had I wanted to confirm the idea here that 90, 95, 98% of it is basically just either from gay subculture or from African American subculture.
We are going to need an Ebola was right counter.
A counter. I wish
Yeah,
I could have like a
just
thing on
have
the
like
screen
a
that's-
small bell someone can hit and just go another point.
Does anyone have a bell?
Maybe a gong or something.
I have a glass, and I
Bring
maybe
up
I
a
can find something
soundboard,
to
please.
strike it with. I don't have. Hang on. Can I do like a? Do you hear that?
Yeah, we heard it, but yeah, if somebody has like a gong sound effect,
Yeah,
that
I
would be
don't
funnier,
have a very good gong. Let me find. Okay, I'll work on finding a soundboard with a gong while we're doing this, and then
But
sooner or later.
do it while we talk about this, because I mean, in the United States, because they've had such a big population growth from immigrants and kind of stagnant birth rates from their native population. By native, I mean WASP. I don't mean Native Americans. But I'm sort of seeing the same trends here, like in Scandinavia, when I'm at the gyms, where I see these Zoomer cliques, and they always have like these guy friends who will have like one minority member. And I mean, I can sit and talk about how integration doesn't work, but it seems to work a little bit better for them, being the fact that they're all as effeminate as each other for some reason. And there's no clear sort of differentiation between them. I don't know if it's the same in Sweden and Finland. What's the data over there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one more of an either or. If they are in that sort of culture, well, then they are as fake and gay as all the Zoomers who are in that kind of stuff. And again, you probably see more of the the urban-rural divide. I've noted that when I'm back home or at the cabin and going to one of the local towns to get something, and you see people in that age category, they tend not to dress and behave in that sort of way. But if you see someone here in the capital walking past them somewhere, they are as fake and gay as they come.
Burkarl? That.
Sorry. I had to step away there. I wasn't following. I had to get the door for a moment. Sorry.
Yeah, it's no problem. I mean, we're asking about if you feel like the diversification, if like the sort of the among the Zoomer generation, if they are as sort of diversified in Finland as they are. I mean, the numbers don't necessarily reflect it demographically, but I see a lot more sort of interracial intermingling, especially if you look at like big cities and with the Zoomers.
It's definitely only a phenomenon, at least in Finland, from what I've seen, in the urban areas where the newcomers are. So in those places, it definitely is a thing. But as for how common is it, it falls quickly away, especially when there are a series of quite serious. When the intermingling is pretty. It happens much more when there's only a few others. When they get critical mass, they just start forming groups among themselves and vying for territory, and stuff gets jungleized quite quickly.
Back to the prison population. Did you find the Gang Walrus?
Yeah.
I found something better. I think in the honor of the topic of the stream, I think we should introduce the Ever Lovers Right sheesh.
Okay.
Okay. We're down.
So we have one. We have one sheesh out of how many we'll see when we get through it. You want me to keep going with this article?
Yeah,
or,
keep reading.
They are the first digital natives. Another characteristic of Generation Z is their native use of technology, whereas millennials were considered digital pioneers who bore witness to the explosion of technology and social media. Gen Z was born into a world of peak technological innovation, where information was immediately accessible and social media increasingly ubiquitous. These technological advancements have had both positive and negative effects on Gen Z. On the plus side, an abundance of information is at their fingertips, allowing Gen Zers to broaden their knowledge and be proactive in their learning. On the other hand, too much screen time can compound feelings of isolation and lead to underdeveloped social skills. Additionally, technology is changing the economy, leaving low-income Gen Zers vulnerable as they enter the workforce. And that is something that I have recognized quite a bit in terms of the underdeveloped social skills. That's one thing. Also, the idea that that's something I've heard both from US and in Norway, that sort of the rate at which the younger generations, the Gen Zers, are getting their license, their driver's license, is reducing drastically because they don't have a feeling that they need it. They don't see the driver's license in the same way that we did, and especially that the Gen Xers and the Boomers did. That the driver's license is sort of like a pathway to freedom, because if you have a car, you can go anywhere, right? That's the meme.
This is especially noticeable, at least in Finland, in moped licenses, because you can get a license for a moped max at 15 years old, whereas you can get a driver's license at 18. It used to be that they use, and it still is in rural places, but it used to be even near large cities that every kid got their moped license at 15 years old, and then drove around all summer when they were off school, including me. But I noticed my little brother, for example, who, I mean, he got his moped license, but he hardly ever even used it. Or
did he get his parents, like your parents, to drive him around?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
thing they're saying as well.
Sometimes, yeah, he didn't like
Yeah.
just cruising around.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Like they just don't like driving. It seems it's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, in the beginning, I thought this was because they're just kind of pussified in a sense, but I mean, that's a very easy kind of explanation. They have less testosterone, which I mean, they have provably, but I actually think it's because they're so used to an extremely developed digital system, so they can do everything on their phones or on the computers. I mean, why do you even need to meet people in person when you can just you're doing
Yeah.
whatever you want to do instantly online with great user interfaces? I mean, why would you drive to meet somebody or sit and hang out at the back of a McDonald's parking lot or something after a
And that's
football
not to
game?
say
It's like,
that they don't do that. I just think it happens in a lot more planned environment than it would be for us or older generations, where you just you meet people to hang out just randomly at places, right? You drive around, you go check out where everyone is at, right? You go to the local soccer field to see what's up, right?
Yeah, well, I would say that we're kind of in some places here bucking that trend, because they made some changes to how the aforementioned moped license works. So here you can get what is called an A-tractor on a moped license. It's essentially the same thing. Usually it was that you had to like have one of those refurbished tractor things that kind of built around to so it looked like a car. But now you can actually get a regular car. You just have to put in a limiter, so it can't go faster than 35 kilometers per hour, I think it is, and then you're good to go. And this has more or less just exploded in the rural areas because, well, it gets cold in the winter, and people realize that, yeah, well, then they can go from point A to point B. It will take them some time, but they're in a real car. So
they're gonna be warm.
Yeah, also it's the thing that also with accidents. So parents are more to okay, you can go there, but then we have to get you a fucking car, because you can't get a standard moped out on the interstate highway, because then you will get run over by a timber truck. So let's get you a real car.
Some Eastern European hauling timber is gonna just swipe you because he's got to make the boat over to the Netherlands or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. So that has really exploded here. So now everyone, all of a sudden, it used to be that it was the getting mopeds was going down because it was uncool, but now that they can get moped cars, or actually limited cars, then everyone wants one. So now you have like a bazillion like 15-16-year-olds in regular cars with a big warning triangle on them going at 30-35 kilometers an hour and annoying all the other drivers because they are taking up so much space.
Yeah, definitely. Another feature with the moped licenses was that for example, I got my moped license. It cost 30 euros, and I did a multiple choice test, which was over in 15 minutes. And my little brother, he had to go to the driving school and actually go do some driving lessons and stuff like that, and it cost 500 euros.
Okay, so you need the barrier to entry is a lot bigger.
Yeah, there was some sort of old woman's flower hat.
No, I do remember that actually from myself. When I took my driver's license versus one of my siblings taking their driver's license a couple of years later, the requirements had changed quite a lot. For me, it was just like you have to have a set number of hours behind the wheel, sort of, and later on it changed to like a whole bunch of like criteria, right? So that required special classes and meetups, and so the barrier to entry in that sense certainly has increased. But you would think that the reward would be worth it, right? But apparently for them, they're making the value judgment and they're saying that, nah, I'm good, right? The other thing I want to talk about and is when it comes to this like digital pioneering of the millennials versus what the Zoomers have grown up in is something that you've talked a bit about, Ludwig Path, which is sort of the ghettoification of online spaces, which is something that I really feel the Zoomers suffer from, because they have grown up in a world where they get sort of placed algorithmically, dumped into a corner of the internet with everyone else who obsesses about the same thing. And it's like that old 4chan post about having sex with toasters, right? I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
I'm not sure if I remember the toaster part, but to reiterate the point about ghettoification, like they're coming into an internet that's a lot more mature, and it's not just mature technologically, but it's sort of like the war over the internet, or the architecture of the internet has sort of been settled. Like the peer-to-peer model is kind of dead in a sense. The free open internet is dead.
I was going to say the old
was...
forum culture is gone, and now you just get these algorithmical ghettos where you the TikTok stuff I looked into, like they call it, like, if you're in if TikTok places you in like the sphere where you get a lot of TikToks about like literature, you're on book talk, they say. Or if you like role-playing games, you get placed in like Dungeons and Dragons talk or music talk, right? And it seems like, without owning the app, it seems like these curated pages, the For You pages, is that what it's called on Twitter as well, the one that doesn't work? Yeah, the For You page sort of places everyone in their own echo chamber deliberately, but that also makes the result a lot more terrifying than it ever was back in our day, when you had to seek out a specific forum for something and fight with people there.
And I mean, it's different because the internet that we grew up in, you could search for stuff and you could actually find it.
That too.
Google was actually useful at one point, I remember, and you could find almost anything if you searched for it. But then, like you said, the client server architecture just took over. You ended up with a few winners that are like the large social media networks, and that's where everybody is. And you
don't ask for things anymore. You just get served new things to react to.
Exactly, they just suggest it to you, and it's really bizarre when I try to use these browser extensions, like sort of productivity stuff, like YouTube productivity extensions, that it just removes the feed, so I have to search for everything myself, and it's like my brain almost can't handle it at this point. And I was actually used to doing it the other way, where I had to actively search up stuff, but I mean, the custom-made feeds, it really does change everything, and like the political perspective is, of course, that it's an extremely effective containment tool. They tried to outright ban stuff, but now it's like, okay, we can allow people to have it, but we'll just stick them in this space here, and nobody gets out of this space, right? There's no reach outside of it. We just if you have certain traits, and we created a profile for you, this is where you fit, and nothing's gonna go outside of here. So
which leads to insane sort of behavior as well within these circles. I mean, one thing is, right-wing Twitter, which is one ghetto. But as I said, I'm immersing myself in Gen Z culture by consuming as much TikTok compilations on YouTube that I could find. And, the amount of, first of all, it's the sort of the anime, I suppose, influence, where, you get the dress up and the cosplay and sort of this like overacting. I don't know if you guys have seen some stuff that gets out of TikTok and makes it onto stuff like Twitter, where a lot of people are sort of like overacting with their facial expressions. They almost look like animated characters because they do the same type of squash and stretch thing that they do in like Pixar movies. Very uncanny.
Use the filters.
Someone can do that.
The ladies try to get attention by using the sort of hentai face, where they like roll their eyes back in their head and open their mouth. Aigo or something is what it's called. I mean, you see it everywhere. It's very hard not to notice. It's extremely annoying. But I mean, people who grew up on anime.
It's just the level of us being the sensible center, as always, it's just very indicative of sort of the extremity of everything. And I'm not talking about like political extremism, but just the extremity of, your afternoon is you spending hours putting on, makeup and costuming to make a TikTok, hoping that it's going to get some views, and basically acting in front of the Black Mirror, right? Instead of going out and forming actual connections with people.
It's also when the behavior is so extreme, when suddenly their hands start waving around more than Italians, and the eyes dilate. You can see the pupils dilating when they're, artificially self-induced, sort of dopaminogenic state of where they're going hyper. And then I can imagine them when the camera just shuts off for filming the TikTok. They go into literally emotionless, antidepressant mode, and completely blank. And at most, for the whole rest of the day, they might exhale a bit, bit more. When they funny meme later, but they just slouch on their computer chair the rest of the day.
Right.
And they'll need some pills not to kill themselves.
Well, maybe we should just jump to that right away because, that's the next one. We'll get back to that. Many factors contribute to Gen Z's mental health challenges. Mental health challenges are a sad characteristic of Generation C, which has been referred to by some as the loneliest generation, as their endless hours spent online can foster feelings of isolation and depression. More time spent on smartphones or watching Netflix means less time spent cultivating meaningful relationships. Additionally, many young people fall prey to the compare and despair trap that social media presents. Gen Z kids also find their mental health affected by the turbulent state of the world. As political activism among the Gen Z has increased, many Gen Zers have internalized the unrest surrounding issues like gun control, police brutality, climate change, leading to increased levels of stress. And that is, something you touched on, like they're all on SSRIs in insane numbers compared to previous generations. And it leads to a very weird worshipping of the whole thing. Like I saw so many TikToks of young people who are, it seems like they're grooming themselves to look ugly, by the way, which is another feature of like half of Gen Z. And you know what I'm talking about? Like they have like the shittiest mullet, like a woman with a mullet, and like half of it is painted like neon blue, right? And then she has like a septum piercing and everything, and she's like overweight. She's gobbling down these SSRIs and pills, and she's celebrating it, right? She's making a TikTok about like, oh, I got a new haul of medication. Let's go. Time to make the pain go away. Like my video, right? It's I don't know. It's just it's hell on earth. I'm gonna have to play another sheesh. Evola was right.
And this just I mean, there's so much to grab here. I mean, the first problem I see with Generation C is that there's no local world for them. So they're always in the global, in a sense. They always have to compare themselves to like the prettiest, female celebrity, like the male fitness
Well, nowadays
model.
they don't even have to compare themselves to real women.
No, it's the AI generated pornography that they're comparing
men will do
themselves
the
to,
job
right?
better.
Yes. But I mean, so I think really, I mean, the key to happiness, at least one of the biggest factors, is just the ability to be present locally, or just, okay, look at what's actually in front of you, like what's actually realistic, and try to live within that and have your mind mostly exists within that local sphere, even though it might be, you can say it's parochial, it's narrow-minded, but I think you'll find that people are happier when they're able to just live in the moment in time where they are, and around the local people that they're around, and compare themselves to them instead of comparing themselves to like the prettiest person in the world, or whoever won like the men's classic Mr. Olympia with shorts on or something. So they've been robbed of that. They're always comparing themselves to like the best of the best globally, which I think why so many of them are into self-improvement and this stuff. And of course, if you can't compete, then you have to find some other niche to fill, which is why they seem to go into this like prophylicity trap where having like mental diagnoses is cool for them. That seems to be like one of the biggest changes, at least from my generation to their generation, is that we were becoming aware of pop psychology, but it was not cool to have ADHD. It was not cool to be autistic, and it was not cool to be histrionic or have social anxiety or some of these multi-letter diagnoses they have. And you talked about like chugging down the SSRIs. I mean, Leo.
Yeah, and I mean, when we were in, teenage and stuff like that, there were people like that, but they were pitied. They were like, okay, that person has real problems, and and
it's
the,
this
I
weird
think it's
kind of
the
like trying
normalization,
to.
really, because when everybody thinks that you have that teenagers and from early to late teenage and children as well have this idea that, oh, you're gonna be special and unique, but in reality everyone is just desperate to be like everyone else so they can fit in. And the new fit in is I think, to be fucking honest, I think that a vast majority of people who just, oh, I have this, I have that. No, you don't. You have just, fooled
That's what I'm
yourself.
saying. Like all these women on TikTok saying they have autism and ADHD.
Yeah, they have psyoped themselves into believing they're having it, and then they have started, and then they got a medication for it.
But to see it on people who actually have these things of the Gen Z as well, it's they're wearing it with this sort of like weird pride. It's almost like they're collecting. It's more important to collect the diagnosis than like actually considering the consequences of living with it. Like it's not like, oh wow, I finally got my ADHD diagnostic, instead of going with the approach of, well, this is who I am, how do I work around that? Because I was talking to someone I know about this, and I mentioned this to Ludwig Path as well. Like, consider how many boomers in theory have ADHD, but they've never really thought about it because they're just like, well, it's just how I am, right?
Yeah, you work around your problem, you work around it. And might also explain why so many of them go on cruises all the time. They've got like this fixation on it.
Well, that's fair, right? They have the keys dangling in front of them. Yeah. But I'm just saying, sort of that change from going by the consequences to like, oh, I need to get the diagnostic so the nanny state can do its thing, right? It's been disastrous.
Yeah, but then there are also some kind of medical thing, but that's more only in the US and in the Anglosphere, because they found that, they did this like large study in the late 90s that they showed that what the fuck is happening with specifically ADHD and whatever it's called. And they found out that that they started giving the hepatitis vaccines earlier. So they gave them like in the first 2 weeks before they waited until 2 months to give them. And that 2 months, essentially, you don't take any damage from it. But if you're given like, the day after you're born, you're very vulnerable to some compounds in it. So
yeah.
So like all the people in the early Zoomers in the Americans, the percentage of people who got it from that was like 2,000% or something. It just peaked.
Yeah, aside from like women just faking diagnoses for attention, there are legitimate like big structural events and problems related to the Zoomer generation. Like the declining testosterone is one problem, like the microplastics would be another problem, like all of the the birth control that women are on, pissing into the water supply, making the frogs gay and making the Zoomers even gayer. Like
making the Zoomers gay.
Yeah, it's absolutely real. Like they have so many, like low attention span from being on the computer all the time, like being raised with the fucking Alexa, these the television, and the computer, and so on.
Water is full of fluoride.
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of an American problem, but yeah, and all the Sneed oils, that's correct.
Sneed oils.
Oils. Yeah, but I mean, just such a thing like, softeners in plastic. I mean, that thing, essentially, it works like synthetic estrogen, but it's also attaches to certain parts of your neural receptors. It makes you fucking stupid. And they outlaw them in like 98, I think, in the Eurozone. The worst kind of them, but they're still legal in the US and in Asia. So, remember, guys, the aluminum cans you're drinking or fucking Diet Cokes or whatever from has a plastic lining.
Yeah, right. Let's keep going. There's something about them being pragmatic and financially minded, which I suppose might be true because they've grown up, it says, during like the Great Recession.
Materialistic.
Yeah, but I don't find that point very interesting. They're shrewd consumers. As consumers, Gen Z's behavior reflects their values. In the influence of an increasingly digital world, Gen Z kids can rely on their tech-savvy and extensive social media platforms to make informed purchasing decisions. Their pragmatism leads them to explore and evaluate a range of options before settling on a product. In addition, they're more likely to be swayed by the recommendations of real-life users than by celebrity endorsements. Well, I mean, considering that the real-life users are the influencer celebrities that are endorsed. I mean, I feel like this one is sort of wrapping itself into itself. It's Ouroborosing into like being the same thing. Here you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and where did you get the values?
Bong the gong.
They're very savvy about choosing, the correct product with correct values. But where did they get the values?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the result of this is the fucking Harry Potter game. That is like, if you buy it, you're a racist, and you have to buy it. Like you either have to buy the Harry Potter game to like own the libs, or you don't buy the Harry Potter game because J.K. Rowling is a transphobe or something. Which is like, I don't even want to think about this. Now I'm made to, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, as I said, it's weird. I've seen some other articles on that one going that they are extremely easily led and extremely easy to influence because they have no personal center, so to speak of. It's just like just a flag in the wind. Wherever it goes, they go.
Yes, and the real life users, like you said, it's just influencers. It's just like micro celebrities. It's not like the big celebrities that the boomers would be led by, with like Dr. House or
exactly.
Yul Brynner or something. It's it's just like like PewDiePie or people like that who recommend them shit products, and they get that instead. So I think it's a sort of mistake from the people making the reports.
And it's the same thing here with the second paragraph. It talks about them being drawn to sustainable products and brands, which is, well, it's all true. The problem here is that all of this in both of these paragraphs are like, all of this is like a marketable package sold to the Gen Z, right? So it's not real. You see what I'm saying? Like they've been sold the idea of thrift shopping, right?
Yeah, it's complete astroturf all the way down.
I mean, when you think about actual shrewd customers, you think about people who are a little bit kind of outside of the system. Like they're able to at least remove themselves from all of these trends and just, okay, I'm just going to go against the stream to buy this product because it's actually cheaper long term. Like you have some kind of plan like that. You're a little bit clever about it. But the way I see their customers' choices, it's sophisticated in the way that they're considering more than the utility of the product, and it's like this whole ideological superstructure on top of everything that they buy. But there's nothing shrewd about it. Like they're not making themselves richer doing this.
No, and it's not even pragmatic. I mean, the pragmatism. No. I mean, what's pragmatic about getting a fucking game because to own the libs? That's not really pragmatic. Or anything in their consumer patterns. It's just not.
It's very pragmatic to get stuff delivered to you.
Yes.
We're gonna have to discuss the fridge, aren't we? I mean,
I forgot about that. I was just thinking about the Amazon deliveries. People never
Yeah, you can
visiting.
go. You
a
can go
store
read
to
my
buy
opinions on it on my Substack in the description below. The fridge theory of politics. I've stolen your tweet, Burkarl. Nordanon says, "You guys are my favorite niche internet micro celebrities." Thank you, Nordanon. That means so much.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the product chilling yet, but it will come. Trust me.
One day we'll
You're
sell
not too far away.
We'll sell the alpha pills.
Yes.
And mugs.
Nordhuger says another big part of Zoomer boy culture is gaming. I mean, that goes for millennials and Gen X as well, just in different, I mean, half of the people, including myself, is probably here because of Gamergate, right? So I can't really fault them for that. The Zoomers are politically progressive, even those on the right. Most generations tend to be more left-leaning than the previous generation, and Gen Z is no exception. While Gen Zers look a lot like millennials on many key issues, they are the most politically progressive generation yet. They are the generation most likely to see the advancement of LGBTQ rights as a positive development. Even among Republicans, Gen Zers take a more progressive stance on social issues. They agree that Black Americans are treated more unfairly in this country. They believe the government should play a greater role in solving problems. They're more likely to attribute climate change to human activity as opposed to natural patterns. I suppose I'd agree that the government should play a greater role in solving the problems, but I think we disagree on what the problems are.
With the government, perhaps, but then again, everyone here knows that the problem is the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no positive way to spin this one. I don't know. I don't think even Steve Turley has tried to twist it into something positive with the Western Zoomers.
No, I think we're just fucked on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much, of course, of this sort of like LGBTQ focus is just sort of like an extension of the
the excess of liberty. Tim told me otherwise, and he's never been wrong.
Gen Zers, like they're the most libertarian generation now. They believe in civil liberties and less foreign intervention or something. Like we just picked two data points, and if we put those two data points, like they match the libertarian.
I do remember that was
so.
a talking point, like before 2016, I think, of like, oh, Gen Z is like the most conservative generation yet. And I remember being skeptical because I lived among them. I saw Zoomers in my life, and I very much doubt that. And
I think there's so much cope going on, and I'm seeing it all the time. Like these people who cherry pick certain points, like they have all these data points about Zoomers, and like, okay, this could be seen as a conservative value combined with this other point, and you just ignore like the total picture of it and just say, oh, look how conservative they are because they're against foreign intervention or something, some dumb version of it. But I believe this as well. There's so many of these copes that I just look back on in shame that I ever believed in.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's just. But I think that the positive point might actually be that since the Zoomers are so easily led, the fact that they are progressive is quite simply because that is what they are propagandized to be. So, if you can propagandize them to be, conservative, whatever that means, then they will go along that. But then we come into the small problem of regime change, and
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind. I mean, if only they were a bit more competent and diddled less kids, I would probably be happy.
Alas, poor us. Here we are.
Alas, the elites. Sadly.
So I'm, of course, wondering if a lot of the LGBTQ focus is, now it's not even a hypothesis at this point. I mean, it is basically the same as the mental illness problem. I see them as just like
if you look at the graphs of like how that stuff has grown, it's insane. I mean, it has to be like, it's obviously a shift in the schooling system that's led to this.
Yeah, but of course, I think like the
exposure,
general
right?
Systematic mental illness things and the like the pro-felicity culture is also led to them just adopting this kind of LGBTQ stuff as like this is just it's a personality for them, right? That's how they see it. It's like it's just an identity.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially it's just an extrapolation of the position of you can be what you want to be, and I mean, since they have
but
been
it's
inundated with this,
married with.
they have it.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go on.
No, it's fine. I'm just making the same point all over again in a slightly different way.
But it's married with a whole lot of other stuff as well, like with a much more focus on sort of the sodomy and the oh, can I say this on stream? The inner city culture of it all, right?
The coconut thing.
Yes, the sheeshness of it. Let's go on to the second article here, which is this is more. I just want to hit on the data points that this article has.
We could do the gym stuff afterwards.
Yeah, that's good. So this is like the same kind of article from McKinsey, which is something I've seen before, which is like another one of these like targeting sort of.
What? Yeah, I thought they had that funny symbol there.
No, it's they're holding hands, Ludwig.
Yeah, I know. No, but it's like people with no recognition. It's for good community.
Nice. Yeah, I never saw anything else. Of course, it was just a bunch of hands.
It's just a bunch of hands.
Yeah.
The search for the truth is at the root of all Gen Z's
but
behavior.
like McKinsey, by the way, it's like a management consultant company,
exactly.
But they also do some like analysis and stuff. So
undefined ID. Don't define yourself in only one way. The expression of individual truth. Communaholic. Be radically inclusive, connecting through different truths. Sorry, I have a hard time with that word. A dialoguer. They have fewer confrontations and more dialogue. They're realistic. They live life pragmatically, unveiling the truth behind all things. I really don't know about the last one. There's the pragmatism again. I haven't seen the pragmatism in the Zoomers. I really haven't.
Yeah, they're anything but pragmatic, but maybe they look at it differently. I mean, if they believe in like different truths, and they're one value is like, okay, we connect all the small truths and then we unveil the big truth. Can you have both? I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's compatible.
Yeah. So, and then there's this a couple of graphs here, which is the important thing is not to define oneself in one way. 76% of Gen Zers belong to a religion, but they are also more liberal. So, based on stated religion here, you have Baby Boomer, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z. They're about the same. Like you can see, there's a bit. The evangelical will have grown a bit. The atheism has grown a bit, but generally it's the same. But where you see a difference is if there were a referendum, I would vote in favor of, and Gen Z generally quite more than the baby boomers, a little bit more than the millennials, vote for adoption by same-gender couples, marriage between people of same gender, and the decriminalization of marijuana at the same level of millennials. So they're generally, more progressive, as we already stated. But here's some more data points to hammer that home. Another one is this one, which I shared earlier a bit. Gen Zers leave differences aside to mobilize around causes they believe in. So here's the percentage of people agreeing that they will agree to join someone who thinks differently if there is a shared cause. Gen C and Gen Y generally higher than the baby boomers, but Gen Z more than both. But also this one. So the amount of percent of Gen Z respondents that agree with the statement, I will stop buying brands and spread the word about companies of whose campaigns I regard as macho, racist, or homophobic. It's about 75 to 80% of the Zoomers will just, they buy, as we said, based on ideology. What's sad is that obviously they don't question that ideology.
I'm really surprised that am I supposed to interpret this as like having a macho product is worse than having a racist product, or is it the other way around?
Well, yes. Apparently, having a macho product is going to sell worse than your product being racist, which I would attribute, the gap here, those 3%, That's like the based online Zoomers, right? That's the conservative Zoomers.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
trad
Republican
cats.
Zoomers, and
Yeah.
then the trad cats is the differential between the racist and homophobic
Yeah.
phobic ones. So
This
that's
is
pretty incredible.
just this isn't just from the U.S. Because they have people who have responded with like longer form questions, and they have names that are not American. So I think they have data from multiple places. That's Nick Fuentes. No,
I mean, I don't know how else to respond to this,
So-
but calling them a bundle of sticks, to be honest.
that's the
because,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, Burkholz, you said the dude wipes aren't selling with the Gen C. You have to buy the what did I call them? The RuPaul snatch napkins instead.
Oh God!
The dude wipes are for the millennial soy.
Yeah.
soy
Yes, the Black Rifle Coffee crew.
I mean, I do
uses
agree
the
though,
dude
because
wipes
that's
and
it's the Black Rifle coffee, it's the dude wipes, it's the all the like beard
Grooming
shaving
kits,
products,
yeah.
the grooming kits that
Yeah.
are like so macho, and everything is like in fake hardwood because it's like the lumberjack aesthetic, right?
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
Zoomer
and
understands that. It's
plastic
also-
printed.
The
Oh my
pussy wipes. But yeah, my point is that the macho selling point was very much a sorry, the pussy wipes. Yeah, the manscape.
I would say that. Does this mean that the Gen Z is violently anti-Mediterranean then, since they are against
Probably,
macho
yeah.
culture?
Probably. I mean, I would be very interested in seeing like more Europe-centric focus on this. This is obviously a very American-centric sort of stream, because a lot of the Zoomer culture and a lot of the American culture trickles down to us. So some people might be thinking, oh well, but I'm a Zoomer and I'm from Europe and I'm not like that. Well, give it 10 years and the kids will be saying no cap there as well.
Mm.
No, they
Lopez
already are
Persona
saying this
daddy
stuff. I mean,
Oh, I love this. Okay.
Some of the
I mean,
Zoomer-
having spent some time in Zoomer Twitter, I've talked about this as well. Like when I go to the gym, it's easier for me to understand what the Zoomers are saying because I know more of the slang, right?
Yeah.
But they're using the exact same slang, and they use so many English words now. I thought my generation was bad, but it seems like the Zoomers are even worse in
Yeah.
using English words for everything. So it's not really that different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's absolutely
go ahead.
horrible. The Finglish Zoomer slang when they go something like South Movelli, bro. They literally
Bro.
they say brother twice because veli is the word for brother. You are my brother.
I've noticed that with younger, people that I know and siblings, that when I talk to them, they'll pause more often, and I'll realize that they know the word in English and they're trying to look for it in Norwegian, right? So I'll be like, "Do you mean this word in English?" Like I'll say the English word, "Do you mean this?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of." Okay, and then I'll say the word in Norwegian. That's something I've really noticed.
The absolute state.
All right, let's keep going. Gen Zers want less confrontation and more dialogue. The percentage respondents who say it is necessary to break with the system to change the world. Hey, that's us, guys. That's us.
Oh no!
I think what's interesting here is that they're saying they want less confrontation because they're straight up just more indifferent. I don't think that they want less confrontation. They just don't see hope, I think is the point here. They're just, munching the SSRIs and, waiting for the world to collapse pretty much.
Yeah, comfortably numb, as the old millennial song goes.
I don't think they're waiting for the world to collapse. They aren't even aware that it is.
Yeah,
They're
maybe.
just utterly nihilistic.
I don't know. You have a subsection of the kind of terminally online Zoomers, right? I was watching, sometimes I watch Valuetainment, the Patrick Bet David channel, and he had an interview with like those two Zoomer women who threw like pasta sauce at the Van Gogh painting, and like
Yeah.
there you can truly see like that subsection of the Zoomers that are like terminally online, always afraid. Like constantly afraid of everything. Like they basically said that like they're 22 years old and they don't think they're going to live to be 25. Like they think that global warming is going to
Jesus
kill
Christ.
them, right?
Yeah.
And there's a subsection of them that are like that basically think that they're always living in fear, and they never had a job or done anything real, but they're so hopped up on this kind of their ghetto, in a sense, that's like this constant fear porn around global warming, that they think that they're going to die in a couple of years, and they're not afraid of confrontation. I think that's like the only thing they do. And I mean, I'm having, I could probably see it on a macro level that they are less confrontational, but when you see stuff like the Groypers, and I'm seeing a lot of this kind of Zoomer stuff, especially
I think what
online,
we're
where they
seeing
seem to
is,
seek out
those specific. You're seeing those specific subcultures. You're seeing those specific ghettos, and obviously they're going to be more confrontational, right? But it's only within that sphere.
No, I think there's also a little bit of a faulty analysis of it. I mean, like the climate Zoomers, for example, who go out and have quote unquote protests. That's not being confrontational. That's just go out screaming, and no one is pushing back. They get zero pushback and just get coddled with their little placards, and they get all the space that they can have because the regime wants it to happen. So calling that confrontational behavior, nah.
Yeah,
When if the boomers come out and beat them up, and they then come back again for more, then we can talk about confrontational behavior. But right now, that's just, again, you're seeing it through the distorted lens. They are not being confrontational. They are pushing on a door that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, it's sort of on and off. I do see, let's say with the Groypers, that would be another example. I do feel like they just kind of seek out confrontation for its own sake, almost. Like this sort of the call-out culture, this kind of blood sports debate culture. I mean, maybe it's because I'm on Twitter too much, but I'm seeing a lot of Zoomers who are just doing these call-outs. And
Noitea in chat has a point here. Zoomers are confrontational online, but extremely meek offline. Maybe that's the key.
Yeah, maybe it's like that YouTube. Maybe he's a millennial or something. That guy, Vegan Gains or something. It's like that. It's like this guy. I'm gonna fucking kill you online. It's like you meet him offline. It's like, nah, just a nice little kitten.
Here's some quotes from various. Here, let's see. Female respondent from Salvador. I don't believe this talk of investing in the dream and all that. Work is work. Jen Sears, let's see. It's a realistic unveiling the truth behind all things. Let's see. Here it is. So, Gen Zers live pragmatically. They are realistic. The percentage of respondents who say that they're gainfully employed, Gen Z, 42%. Jesus. Yes, that's living pragmatically, not having a job. Respondents who say that having a formal or a registered job is important, and it's about the same. So I don't see what this graph is saying. This is just saying that Gen Z doesn't have a job.
Yeah, because we can't employ them. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, we have had a couple of Gen Zers coming directly from university, passing through the office, and Jen just going, "Yep, nope, those guys are not staying here." It's like in a couple of weeks, and then just get out. Completely useless. I mean,
holy shit! Resident Nomad has gotten a hold of my schedule. Where did you find that? I password protect all my stuff.
F in the chat, boys.
I mean,
it does a lot of work to call out people and keep the DR clean, so we're saluting it. But I mean, I'm wondering, like with this realism here, you see these Gen Zers throwing out this term "quiet quitting." That seems to be the new thing now. That they're you're basically you have a job and you just don't have any ambitions, so you just do the exact minimum you have to do to maintain that job and nothing else. And this is not a new thing, but they've invented like a formal term for it. Which, I mean, when you're at that point, when you try to, like, you have to have some explicit identity around basically just having zero ambition at your job. I wonder if that's like what's being referred to here, like that type of
Maybe
attitude.
that's it. Yeah, they don't see it as like the important thing in life, I guess.
No, it might also be, as Ludwig was touching on, and it's like it's trying to add another marker that you can add to your quote unquote identity, because you don't have an identity. You have to, construct it from all the little bibs and bobs that you can, find scattered around in what goes around in your life. So you don't really have a identity.
Because
you have to incorporate
exactly, because when you're at home, right, you get to live the life of like a magical fairy person online because you dress up and make TikToks. So going to your job at McDonald's is naturally not going to be as fun. That's not going to be your identity, right? But that's the problem as well. The thing you connected to your identity isn't real. As much as it sucks, the McDonald's job is real, and it will potentially lead to things that are greater in terms of like
bold of you
financial
to
stability, a home, a family, these things.
I was just about to say that bold of you to assume that a Zoomer can hold down a job at McDonald's.
Well, you see what I'm saying. This is burger flipping.
Yeah.
I think the place where this article gets this whole they are realistic or pragmatic. I mean, they've just gotten all the airy-fairy millennial dreams beaten out of them. So that's somehow realism when they're no longer dreaming or striving for much in the employment world.
Yeah, but no, Leo, on the McDonald's and McDonald's point, Zoomers can actually work at McDonald's now because they've implemented these kind of new checkout systems where you don't actually have to interact with customers. They just go straight to the display and they click on whatever menu they want, and it's just like a number that comes up. So they have no social interaction. They just get like a number on the screen and they make the burger and they just put it there and click on the button. And I think that's why you can employ them there, right?
I see. I'm never at McDonald's, so since early 2000s, so I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, but I've seen those things popping up elsewhere as well. I mean, people will go to those screens instead of go and talk to a person actually to order stuff. It's popping up. It's not just McDonald's. It's a lot of different places that are doing that.
But well, you can't do it, right? They basically tell you that you have to order on the display. You can't put in like a verbal order anywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I haven't tested it.
I've actually walked up to the counter, and they've told me to go back and talk to the screen. It's horrible.
Oh. Right. Let's see if there was. I think there was one more, or am I forgetting? Yeah, no, I think that was it. Like the article is interesting in and of itself, but it's already been an hour. So I think we should look at the Zoomers in the gym.
Yeah, the gym one, if you have a translation for it, because I mean,
I'm gonna make a translation for it.
But I mean, that was the motivation for doing this stream in the first place. That I mean, I've been starting to go to the gym as a sort of New Year's resolution, and it's just packed with Zoomers. In the beginning I thought it's like, okay, this is just the way it is now, or maybe I'm just overreacting. But I talked to other people in the gym. I talked to the people who manage the gym, and we found articles like this proving that no, it's not just some type of bias that I have. It seems to be like a huge increase in the amount of Zoomers, that particular demographic, who is going to gyms. So maybe we should read a little bit, and then I can elaborate a bit more about what I learned from talking to people.
Yeah, so this is like a Google translated article, so it might be a bit rough, but here's an image of Stoltenberg's strongest soldier in training, his top guy for the future. Training boom among young people. You get easily affected. Quote. Fitness centers have seen an explosive increase in young members. It's become a social arena for many, says the exercise chain. It's important to warm up. If you don't, you end up hurting yourself for days. This is what Jonathan Mikkelsen says, 15, as he gets ready for a back session.
Yeah, sheesh, bro. You're 15.
Sheesh, bro.
You don't need to warm up. Stop being such a bitch. Like, I'm doing it now because I'm like in my 30s. When I was working out at that time, I never
man,
warmed
if you
up
don't
for
do
anything.
that, yeah, like above like 25, you have to do it. Otherwise, you're just gonna pull a muscle.
Pull-ups
Yeah.
raw.
Yeah, that's kid stuff.
We-
I mean, man,
We play deadlift
Sorry.
raw. Fuck warm-ups. I never do them.
He carefully does the first set on the low row machine with a 20-kilo weight disc. The clock has just passed. The clock has just passed 15 on a regular, everyday, on a regular day. Fresh Fitness in Oss Center in Viken is full of young people who are training in their after-school hours. Most exercise strength. I know several people who train here, and there are many familiar faces, he says as he looks around. Can children exercise do strength exercise? Read what the training provoke or whatever. A training boom. So the chains that TV2 has talked to has seen a huge increase in the number of members under 18. Today we have over 7,000 who are between the ages of 15 and 17 with us. That's far more than 3 years ago, says the private coach for Fresh Fitness. The number of members under the age of a different chain has increased by 40% in the last 3 years. That's insane. The same trend is seen by Family Sports Club. What caused the explosive increase? The chains have a clear thought. It's social media. The Young Data report last year showed a disappointing finding. Participation in organized leisure activities is declining. The report showed that the decline started before the pandemic and the dropout rate increased through 2021. So they're replacing like going to soccer practice with like doing like sick deadlifts.
Yeah, the thing is that I thought that this was just social media, but I can't talk to my colleagues about some things like this because most of them have kids that are in this age. So I asked around, and it seems like there is a kind of natural pipeline for the Zoomer from like team sports to the gyms, meaning that this is not just a problem of social media, but also a problem of like the narrowing in the focus of the team sports. Because after they turn like 15, 16, it really changes from being kind of like this social arena, like this junior soccer, junior basketball, whatever, where people just come to hang out, to be like this very specialized thing where all the coaches are basically just talent hunting, and they're trying to get people from like the A and the B and the C division, and training becomes a lot more grueling, and they have to like train a lot more consistently. There's a lot more expected of them. So a lot of people just drop out. They can't use their soccer practice as a social arena anymore. So they just go to the gym. The problem being that, for me, who tries to exercise more seriously, it's just a huge pain in the ass to have like this ocean of like these broccoli haircuts who are just there to chat. Basically, they're like these totally unserious people who were like, they were not serious enough to try to go in the A division of football, and they're just there to like stand by the easy curl bars to hang out and talk about their like dumb music or whatever. And like that's why I made a lot of these tweets and a lot of these parody videos on my channel, because like they're
I think they're Sigma videos you made.
Yeah, I'm just so unimpressed by them and their and the culture that sort of surrounds this stuff, because it's, I mean, of course, you think I would support this guy, kind of like people hanging out and being social. It's just kind of annoying to have it be the arena that I'm at. I always went to the gym to avoid that kind of stuff. I didn't want to be social.
Going back to our fitness stream, you would like the Arnold gym where like the Chads go and hang out.
Yeah,
you just don't want it to be
different.
The gym you're at.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, let's say like they were all like really serious and like buff and stuff. Okay, that'd be a little bit better. But when they're all, none of them know how to exercise. They're doing every exercise wrong. They're speaking in their Norwegian English or whatever.
Rap? I think he has kept in an old man point here, because he just made the "not in my backyard" argument.
I see what you're saying in a sense, because the Zoomer, youngsters do act kind of in the gym. They do act kind of rambunctiously. I'll say that. Not all of them, obviously, but more they than.
Yeah, I don't want to complain.
There was a gym I went to a long time ago that was mostly Eastern Europeans. Those were great, like the Balkans. They just, they lunk lift and nobody gives a shit, but they like always put the weights back, right? So they're loud, but it's like in the based way.
It's the weakest Serbian meme, everybody's squatting like 4 plates, even the 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have that problem since we have a private gym, but I'm noticing that some of the, as you say, a lot of the the teenagers who are coming in who is borrowing the code keys from their parents and stuff like that, who are starting to show up on and then they really just sit around, look at stuff listlessly, and then don't put away the weights after themselves, and we're having to send out passive aggressive notes to the parents in question to talk to their to their children that if you're gonna lend them the key, then they fucking behave themselves, or you are gonna lose the key.
This is what No Man says. He's wiping down the equipment. What a wuss. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, I need the leftover sweat, his testosterone, when I do my workout. I need the pheromones and the Chad juice from the previous guy if I'm going to make any gains. That's how it works.
That's where the magic comes from.
Yeah, that's why he's wiping it down, because he isn't really excluding any. It's just getting synthetic estrogen.
Wipe down the equipment to make sure no gain scublin leeches off my accomplishments.
Yeah, he's out for a real, man.
Jesus Christ. I need to go work out after this. I can feel it. So do we want to read more of this, Ludwig Path, or was this just an excuse to rant about Zoomers in the gyms?
No, I mean, there's not that much information in the article itself. It's just to note that this is an actual phenomenon.
But I do see that they're flocking to the gyms instead of doing like social activities, which is sort of the same thing we lamented in our bodybuilding. Of course,
I can't really.
The gyms have become a lot less social than they used to be.
Yeah, it sounds hypocritical that I first complained about the gyms being less social, and then it's like, yeah, but not like that, the kind of, I want like these burly masculine men. I don't want the effeminate Zoomers to just sit and crowd up the gyms. But I mean, of course,
I don't hate on, like, he's 15. He's probably just started working out, or he's been playing soccer, so he doesn't have the huge, like, if he works out, give him like 5 years and he'll be jacked.
Yeah, the thing is that if you just show up to be social, you're not going to have a lot of improvements.
Yeah, I'm just like, you don't need to hate on the random guy in the photos here. He's not necessarily the problem.
I can give you a tip, Lodic. If you talk to the management of your gym, they might be able to play like 70s and 80s new wave British heavy metal and stuff like that. The Zoomers go away really fast. Me and some of the old guys at our private gym have started doing that, because we have like a stereo system hooked up down there. So it's just like, okay, today the Zoomers might show, one of the kids might show up. Just like, no one uses headphones. Just start the tape recorder. Just man of war at high volume. They will just open the door, make a 180 and go away. Keeps the women out as well.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's interesting. I don't know. I saw that picture on Twitter, how to make like a male-only gym without explicitly making it male-only. You just remove the mirrors, remove the machines, and start playing like Judas Priest or something, and that solves the problem.
That's what we need to do. We need to get Green River on organizing new gyms for us, and that's the rules. Yeah.
I mean, I was in this kind of Telegram gym space where we also made the point that we could like secretly pretend that it's actually like a gay meeting space, to have it all male, and just that was the joke. Like it's the sensual center now. That's the new kind of hiding place. I love it.
Because I think he's just another victim of low testosterone. I'm like 90% sure I've seen a guy who looks just like that in one of those like Third Reich propaganda videos. He's 15. Leave him alone. All right. Gen Z came to slay. Their bosses don't know what that means. So this is an article about Gen Z slang and sort of their meeting with the workplace. I'm not sure if we want to read that, but this is what led me originally into, analyzing Gen Z lingo and its origins. You want me to just read this?
Yeah, let's do it, and we can jump off whenever we feel like.
Yep. When 24-year-old Mary Claire Wall read a message that said her colleague would be out of pocket, she and her young co-workers giggled. As Gen Z workers, Wall and her peers interpreted the phrase to mean that their colleague planned to do something crazy or inappropriate, not that they would be unavailable. But in the same manner, she confused her older colleagues with their regular use of the word slay. I had to give an almost definition of the word slay, she said. Now they all text me slay. They're excited that they know how to use it. Gen Z, defined by Pew Research Centers as blah, 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 is bringing its own style of communication to the workplace. As conversations have increasingly moved online to text-driven environments, Gen Z's form of messaging is creating a quirky challenge for multi-generational workplaces. The potential for confusing, anxiety-inducing, and sometimes comical miscommunication. Wall said that using slay, which to Generation Z means good job or killing it, is one of the many examples of how she and some of her older colleagues miscommunicate. Miscommunications also happens through the use of punctuation, phrases, and emoji. The presence of Gen Z, called Zoomers in the workplace, is only growing. By 2030, they're expected to more than triple the account for 30% of total employment in Australia, France, Germany, the Netherlands, United Kingdom, United States, according to a study by Oxford Economics. For younger workers, that means being prepared for different interpretations of messages they send. For older workers, that means getting comfortable, asking questions. The trickiest thing is language keeps changing, says Lieke Verheyen, an assistant professor who studies the interpersonal and professional digital communication at Radboud University in the Netherlands. This kind of misinterpretation can definitely complicate and hinder communication. Given that many Zoomers grew up communicating digitally and through text, they've had to develop ways to incorporate tone and intention, says Verheyen. That means adding visual elements like memes and emoji, and often using them ironically. And with their prolific use of social media, Gen Z workers are able to spread new trends to their peers much faster, leading to widespread adoption. To be sure, some of this slang was adopted from Black and LGBTQ plus communities. Alyssa Velez, a 23-year-old media relations specialist in Chicago, whatever the fuck that means, said she had to adjust to seeing periods at the end of a sentence in Slack and email messages from her colleagues. Once she received a comment from a colleague saying, "Good job," full stop. But the period made her second guess whether she was actually being praised. She was probably out for a week with anxiety.
Yeah, I had to double the dose of SSRIs for that one. But yeah, I think like the origin of where I heard this word slay the first time, this is like from the Queer Eye from the Straight Guy and all this kind of like RuPaul shit that's going on. That's like
we'll get to it. I have a list.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it a good job? She said. It just makes me nervous. I even had to ask, and I'm like, oh, I'm overthinking it. Janvik Kalra, a 23-year-old software engineer in San Francisco-based startup Coda, agrees, noting that sometimes Zoomers interpret periods as passive-aggressive or cold because it's so formal. But older colleagues prefer to use full sentences complete with periods. Kalra says often what causes the most confusion are emoji. She said a senior engineer once asked what she meant when she responded with a Slack reaction that coupled the fingernails emoji with a fire emoji on top. I honestly don't know what that means. But I know that, okay, there's the magic hair emoji and it means go on, queen, she said. Then on our Slack, there's a fire on top, so it's double that.
Wow, it's a lot deeper than I thought, this Zoomer stuff.
What possible situation is go on, queen, in the workplace? Like the like, oh, would you look at my code, or did you like my code? And then she responds with go on, queen, times 2.
Instantly fired.
Enough questions arise from the generational divide that Coda has a Slack channel dedicated to helping colleagues understand Gen Z's emoji use at work. Kalra says that some Zoomers interpret the emoji with open eyes and puckered lips as a face expressing judgment versus a kissing face, an important distinction at the workplace. She and her peers also often use the skull emoji or open mouth emoji with streaming tears to convey exaggerated laughter, as in dead from crying of laughter. But what about the generic smiley face that often appears in some apps after typing a colon and a closed parenthesis? The smiley face. Some Zoomer says this can come off as passive aggressive or cold. It looks dead in the eyes, Color said. It doesn't seem warm. Keith Broney, editor of the chief of online emoji encyclopedia and archive, emojipedia.org, said Gen Z tends to use emoji with much more nuance and creativity than prior generations because they grew up using them. Often that means emoji take on literal meanings much less frequently than they do with older colleagues. Earnestness is cringe, he said. It seems a little more ironic or sardonic. Well, if that isn't a fucking sentence to define the
sheesh it.
Zoomers, I'm gonna sheesh
Give us a
it.
sheesh.
Here's a. I'm gonna give you a sheesh. Did you get it?
I got it.
Yeah, we got
Very
it.
good. Molly Folks at 20. This article is cringe. Well, I mean, it's one of those like those crazy Zoomers, right? Molly Folks, 25-year-old client manager at a workplace event software company, Flammable, blah blah blah. The deadpan look. One is when they send her a thumbs up in response to anything other than a yes or no question. That's interesting. What does that mean? I don't know. Ellipses is another element that can create hesitation for Zoomers. Older generations tend to use ... as a casual way to break up or to change the pacing of a story. But a 23-year-old technical support analyst for Texas-based tech companies said she absolutely hates the ellipses. If anyone ever uses ... I think, oh my god, I pissed them off. My brain automatically goes, what did I say? Or, oh my god, was this annoying? Now that's something I can relate to, actually.
Me too.
Is that a millennial thing, too? Like
yeah,
the ...
I hate ellipses.
is...
I always interpret it as some kind of like impatient thing or something. I mean, it's a little bit the same way like with the standard smiley emoji because it doesn't have any eye movement, so it's like it can come off as passive aggressive. I guess I'm more in tune with this culture than I thought. I mean, my colleagues ask me why I use the ninja emoji all the time. So,
why do you use the ninja emoji? I don't know what this is. I genuinely don't know what this is. What's the ninja emoji?
Don't tell them, guys.
Okay, whatever. He and her peers are much more likely to include exclamation marks. Okay. Another common speed bump for consumers. Big blocks of text in one message. For some, receiving a message from a colleague that has several requests or suggestions can feel starkly formal. A little overwhelming or possibly even confusing if there's too much squished into one place. All right. I think we're going to stop with this now. It's just, more like weird misinterpretations, and we're going to get to the words.
The last one there, you can see the attention span coming in.
Yes. My attention span is dead now. I collected as much as I could of Zoomer slang and lingo, right? Things that also make it onto the online world. And I traced as much as I could because this is linguistics, so it's always hard to know for certain, right? But as well as I could, spending 5-10 minutes on each word, I tried to trace back their origins, and to add to the Evola counter, a good 95+% of the words have origins in Black or homosexual culture. And I'm just going to go through the list of what I found. So when Gen Z talks about bougie, you might have heard bougie before as in bourgeois, but they use it in a bit of a different way. It's spelled Boujee. And this word sort of regained it's a twist on the old bougie, the bourgeois stuff, but it regained popularity for Gen Z through the saying "Bad and Bougie" by Migos and Lil Uzi, who are African American rappers. The word "bet," as in when they say "all right, bet," it means something akin to "it's on," right? It's derived from the idea to bet on something. But it originated from, my source says, the current form is originating from African American vernacular and campus slang. Based is from Black culture. Bussin' is from the same source, originated from African American vernacular as a way of complimenting good food, became popular in the early 2020s. Clapback is from an old Ja Rule diss track against 50 Cent. Drip is from the Atlanta rap scene, the Jersey rap slang, which predominantly white, obviously. Glow Up is from the rapper Chief Keef, African American. When something hits different, it's from the LGBTQ community / YouTube. The idea of there's something like it's a vibe, but they say like it's giving. Have you encountered that? Like when the super says it's giving. I saw like half a year ago or something. Daniel Craig did a commercial with like a vodka brand where he's dancing around in a hotel lobby, and it's like somewhat derivative of that Fatboy Slim music video with Christopher Walken. Do you know the one?
Yeah.
Is it Master
Weapon of Choice?
Weapon of Choice, yes. And someone commented had commented on it. I remember seeing it on Twitter. They said it's giving Christopher Walken, right? So they're saying that it has the same vibe or the same expression as something else when you say it's giving. Well, my point is, this is from Black and gay culture, both actually. It's from specifically, gay drag Black culture.
I just want to interrupt here and say that we should observe the lack of attention and care in chat, because they are trying to build a coconut tower and it keeps failing.
Well, I mean, 4chan has been trying to do that for generations. So. Okay. Taking an L or taking a double or having a W. I couldn't find a lot on this one, so I wanted to put this to the chat. My personal theory is that this originates from competitive fighting games, which has a lot of African American influence.
What term was this? Sorry, I saw
like
a little bit.
L's and W's, like taking an L.
Yeah, actually, a lot of these terms go back to fighting games, but then again, it's very intermixed with like Black culture, because the American sort of like fighting game community, it's very kind of multi-racial and almost like Black dominated. I don't know why like Black people like Street Fighter so much, but there is some connection there. I mean, I used to play these games like almost semi-competitively at some point, and I was paying attention to they were streaming these tournaments, right? And they would have like these Black guys who would sit on commentary, and they just keep making up new terms all the time, and it's very entertaining to listen to. And then there's so much of that stuff that I keep hearing later, like maybe 5-10 years later, used other places like the L's and the W's and so many of these weird little.
The next word is lit. Now, obviously, the word itself, lit, I think is from like the 1700s or something. The idea of something being lit up. But the current iteration was populated like without referring to specifically to a light source. Was popularized by Travis Scott, who was African American rapper. Something being mid, aka mediocre, was used in cannabis culture apparently to describe mid-tier marijuana. Was then later popularized by Drake in one of his songs. Again, African American rapper. No cap was difficult. No cap was difficult to trace down, mostly because there's so many theories what it actually means, or sorry, what its origins are. Obviously, it means to not lie, or I am not bullshitting you, basically, because I'm saying, I did it, no cap, right? So one theory is that it's a reference to gold teeth, because gold teeth, I'm not sure if this is still, true, but in the olden times of the 90s, you would have either permanent gold teeth, or you would have caps. So I assume this is still, a possibility. Now we're talking about like the grills, right? That people call them. So caps would be removable. And in theory, the idea is that if you wear caps, you take them out when you want to look presentable, like when you're going for a job interview, if you're at a court date, something like that. So having no caps means that you're going hard. You're the real deal. You're not, pretending to be more of a gangbanger than you actually are. You're real, right?
I can think of another situation where some caps are being taken off and people are going hard.
Well, here's the next one, and I'm gonna play an Instagram video, and hopefully you guys will have sound. This is from Real Un to Amir. I have no idea who this is, but here's the third theory I found, or the second. I don't remember.
Had a nice little spill with my son. He's from this generation, but he's been exposed to something better. But I was giving him the explanation to the word capping. Because a lot of these youngsters running around talking about no cap, yo, you capping, so on and so forth. They don't know back in the days, they used to have cap guns. You used to have a little revolver joint that you could slip the joint in there and cap, or they had the little paper joints. You know what I'm saying? Those are cap guns too. So to differentiate from those who was really out there playing with them tools, you know what I'm saying? It was a demeaning way of telling somebody that you ain't really about that life. You busting cap guns, yo, you capping. And then look, 2021, everybody running around talking about no cap and don't know the origin of it. So sometimes, you know what I'm saying, us old school fools, we can teach you a little something, you know what I mean?
Thank you, Professor Amir, for that presentation. My point is that, the origin, added to the list. On God, this was a bit hard to track down. But, obviously this is a version of sort of swearing on the Bible, kind of. But I could also the only thing I found was a source saying that this is from, again, African American vernacular English. This didn't sort of the idea of swearing on something holy isn't necessarily new, but this specific version of it is from African American vernacular English. This is a word I haven't seen. Well, I have seen it more recently, but I haven't really seen it at all. It's called it's Riz, like Rizz, which refers to one's seduction skills.
It's what we millennials call game.
Yes,
I think. Yeah.
And this originated from a Twitch streamer named Kai Senat, who is an African American. Then we have the Jish, which is, I think, from what I could find, seems to be like a twisting of something like G's, like as you're saying Jesus, but of course with a bit of shit in it. From what I could find, that's what people are saying.
I remember it had something like they do it and they're like pointing to their veins or something.
Yeah,
like cooling down.
It refers to like a
yeah.
move some basketball player makes. Like he's got like a style move he does. So I mean, I'm taking all of that circumstantial evidence and sort of just chalking it up as another one. Simp refers to West Coast rapping in the 1980s, which was predominantly African American. That something slaps, and usually songs, that a song slaps. You can originate from something being like a smash hit, but also sort of how the bass hits you. But it's specifically believed to originate from 90s hi-fi rap, which is also West Coast, I think. Don't quote me on that. But hi-fi rap was, of course, African American. Slay is black and gay, again. And then last but not least, tea, which means gossip or spilling the tea, just to share gossip, is from black drag culture. And I think that's everything.
What about bussin'?
Oh yeah. No, I think I said bussin'. Bussin' originated from African American vernacular as a way of complimenting good food.
Okay.
became popular in the early 2020s. Yeah. So, at this point, what is Zoomer culture but homosexual black culture, really?
The thing is that, I mean, that's been kind of the norm for a while. I mean, when you think about like what was cool in our generation, I think about how cool Eminem was, for example, or
Yeah, that's
jazz
true. I
music.
mean, it's
Jazz
borrowing
music,
from that.
jazz
I
music
mean,
is like
I'm
gay
not
black
here to
music.
I'm not here to discount Evola because I think ultimately he's right.
Yeah, I don't think that the black influence is unique. I'm just kind of surprised that they were.
I'm more surprised at how. Okay, you can say that Eminem was huge, but Eminem wasn't mainstream white culture, right?
Are you sure?
It seemed.
I think it was for like.
You think Eminem was
my
mainstream
generation.
white culture?
Does anybody contest that?
Yeah, maybe I was not into rap enough.
Well, I mean, Eminem was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 theme song and everything. I think it was pretty.
All right,
mainstream.
never mind. I'll take the L on that one. I wasn't aware that he was that big. I've just never, met enough, I guess, wiggers to feel that. I just feel like the word usage has, become a lot more pervasive than it used to be. That's all.
No, I remember seeing them all over the place actually when that was when it was big. But I don't think like the gay black stuff is unique to the Zoomers. I think I've talked to you about this before. I'm just kind of surprised that that the blacks have been able to be kind of as influential on these new platforms. Because there's like, okay, you get like a shift from the old record labels, and you can say that it's like your Shlomo Shekelstein who's like pushing this on the kids, but now it's like all of these like you saw the guy with the beard and all these rappers and these influencers who are going on TikTok and Vine and making all these meme videos, and it still somehow catches on. So it's
well, that's something that I've
like
encountered before because I remember reading like shitlib articles about how using gifs of black people is racist because black people emote so much more online. They make much more of a show than white people.
Yeah, I think
Now,
that's
I'm not
why
saying I agree, but I mean, if you're thinking in the same way that the author of the article did, then that makes sense the way they're doing well, right?
Yeah, they have these really exaggerated TikToks, right? And big movements, big emotions, like they jump around and I've been laughing at some of them myself. Like they're doing all these kind of like light skin memes. That's been sort of a thing that's been going on and off.
I don't understand that. Like, what's the light skin? Like, I've seen the memes,
if
but I don't understand
you
what
have
the light
like
skin thing is.
between blacks, right? You have like a strata in the United States. You have those who have
yeah, no,
more
obviously,
mixed.
but do they? Is it because they're like half that? Like they act different because they're half white?
Yeah. The joke is that they're like they have riz, right? They like the women prefer like the kind of mixed blacks.
Okay, like the mulattoes. Yeah.
If you're like a mulatto and you have like you're like black, a little bit lighter, but you have blue eyes or something, it's like the black women prefer that. And like they say that they can just look at women. That's why they have all these memes with like one of these kind of like mixed models who's just like looking into the camera.
Is that what they're doing? Like the Zoolander face?
Yeah, it's making me all these kind of like faces, just looking at the camera, and that's this kind of joke is that they don't need to do anything; they can just look at women and pick them up.
They're complaining that they've been bleached.
Yes, that's it. But I mean, because they are black and they are kind of the top of the progressive stack, they're not as policed in terms of language, right? So I feel like black people are more free to sort of creatively make whatever they want and comment on stuff than white people would be. So I think that adds to the edginess of their.
I mean, of course, they are because they don't have any power, so they're free to thrash around online.
Yeah, exactly, and I think people like the feel of that or the energy of it.
Yeah. Coney current years for £2 says Harry Potter gen versus TikTok gen, which is worse. Well, as a part of the Harry Potter generation, I mean, I don't know if I can answer that really.
I feel like the TikTok generation came along and they were worse in different ways than I expected.
Yeah, I guess that's
I'm thinking, just to finish the point. thinking in a very kind of linear way, right? When I came up with like, okay, first you had the new wave of the British heavy metal, and then they put in, okay, now we
Yeah.
have like the screamo, and then you get like the new metal on top of that, and they try to make it more and more extreme, louder, new types of death metal. And then I ask, okay, how is like the next generation going to top it? Well, they're not going to
They
top that.
didn't.
They're just going to they're going to go in like to set the car in reverse gear and
They're
make
gonna,
something that's
yeah,
like
they're gonna play
gayer and
vaporwave instead. Yeah.
it's no mumble rap and like funk and all these kind of like horrible genres. I absolutely
Yeah.
hate it. And like I was just shocked that they were able to make so much culture that I absolutely hated, and for completely
The
different
weird
reasons
thing
than
is
I
that I've
expected.
seen,
Yeah.
this week I've seen TikTok sort of romanticizing like new metal, which is very cringy to me.
I mean, that's another sheesh.
That's another sheesh. Do you want me to hit another sheesh?
Yeah, do it for Evola.
I mean, hit 5 in a row.
All right, here we go. All right. No, but to add to the Harry Potter thing, I mean, what I do find weird, the weirdest people are the people who, and I'll admit to having read Harry Potter growing up. I mean, I was in the prime marketing demographic for those books. But by the time the final one came out, and I read it, I was kind of done with it, and I put it down. And along the way, I'd started reading, other deeper, fantasy stuff like Robert Jordan and Tolkien, which gave me much more. So what I really don't understand is are the people who are of my generation, who are now adults, who still hold the Harry Potter as sort of like the the greatest book of the 20th century, right? Or I guess the 21st.
It's the illiterati, as I call them.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's the people who still talk about, adulting and collecting adult points.
I don't like Jizia Dimi. I don't like when my viewers inflict psychological damage on me with their chats. I would have less of that, please. All right, it's almost been 2 hours.
Psychological damage with that Japanese guy.
Oh God, yeah, that's a meme too. I guess everything is a meme these days. I don't know if we have anything else we want to say. Anything else we want to discuss regarding the Zoomers? I mean, we could probably go on lamenting the Zoomers for hours and hours, but I don't want to just sit here and waste everyone's time. If there's any questions you guys have in the chat, now's the time to post them.
Well,
we'll stick around for a minute.
This is sort of a last and a wrap up of the generational SmackDown series, and more. The more I think about it, people are the tabula rasa is definitely not real, but I think people can be made into the tabula rasa to then be remade again, even if they weren't blank slates to start off with.
You're saying we should send them to like concentration camps? Is that it?
No, I'm saying the modern world broke them down and brought them back up
and rebuilt them as weirdos. Yeah, that's fair.
And this is the process that happens when people go into the army or anything else. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking. We got to send all the Zoomers to like re-education boot camp.
Well, this is how people are made, be it psychological torture or just.
It's. I mean, we're all in our own truth regime, right? It's just different layers.
Yeah, so, more or less. I mean, welcome to the Kali Yuga. It's all psychological torture.
It's all downhill from here, kiddo. Yeah. Most Zoomers don't have souls, yes or no? I don't know if that's a joke question or what, but I don't see, like, that's the thing. As Burkle just said, I don't blame the Zoomer for not knowing better, right?
Yeah, but because they kind of still stand, even if it's not their fault.
Yeah, of course.
It's still even if it's not their fault that they're inflicted this, it is their fault that they haven't. If someone hasn't, stepped over, risen above, whatever words you want to use,
Do the old men in the room see anything good for Zoomers? What can the sensible centrists do with the youngins? And Jorge Puente says, say something nice to us Zoomers. Do we have anything nice? Is there anything good
Hey,
in the
there
Zoomer
is actually,
generation?
if you look up the link I posted in the chat, I'll just post it again in the stream chat as well. There's a very productive young Zoomer.
Oh yeah, this guy. Yeah, no, this has been deleted, I think.
What? Yeah. No, I have the tweet up right now.
Oh no, the owner limits who can see their tweets.
Okay, I can screenshot. I have it open on that. It's
I followed him. Yeah, I thought I followed him. Maybe I didn't. Maybe that's one of his. Maybe
okay,
I followed one of his old accounts.
I'll send it again.
Well, saying something nice about this.
Varg is always 5 accounts ahead of me. So
okay, there you go.
Well, I guess saying something nice about the Zoomers is that since you're so easily influenced, it will once we get you into the retraining concentration camps, you will feel a lot better, and it will be
the slow-mos. You'll be turning around real fast.
Yeah, no, I mean, nice things for me. I think the memes are actually kind of funny once I got into them. I felt it, a lot of the humor is kind of impenetrable at the first attempt, but now I actually find myself laughing at a lot of the stuff they post.
There's a lot of earnest creativity being spent on a lot of stupid shit, but that creativity is very cool when it gets channeled into something real. So that's something good about Zoomers. Like millennials versus Zoomers, millennials are a lot more boring. I'd say.
Yeah, that's true.
The problem is that the millennials will be like, just not make something, while the Zoomer will make something and it's cringy as fuck. But if you could direct that, I think they have an earnestness in creating that we don't.
Yeah, I agree.
Millennials are cringe all the time. Zoomers just do cringe things.
Yeah.
And are.
Let's see here. There's a Thulian perspective on Twitter post that my 15-year-old son made a bug-out cabin for himself, and yesterday he decided to move in, bringing only his most essential gear. I can't do his accent. That would be great, though. Roof is thatched with Cytisus scoparius walls made from branches covered with daub. Nice. Thank you, Varg. Very cool. Johnny the Great says, they don't understand consequences for bad behavior due to being terminally online. They need a firm hand and regular beatings to put them on the straight and narrow. That is certainly one way to parent. I'm going to say that and hope that I don't get in trouble with YouTube. Liquid Swan says that they can hardly talk on a phone. I feel like millennials suffer from that as well.
Yeah, but it's a little bit easier for us. So, I mean, if you're ever like wondering how you assert dominance
don't have that issue, but I've met a lot of people my generation that are like, oh, I can't talk on the phone.
I think it's a great way to assert dominance actually over Zoomers and other millennials. If you need a trick, just call them on the phone. Like,
call him.
if there's a dispute that you have with the Zoomers and they start getting snippety with their text messages, just click the call button immediately and try to sort it out. Like, it'll just...
You'll be like, why is he calling me?
Yeah, they just completely panic. It's like smashing them like 2 feet to the ground, right? It's that and get naked. Like those, I mean, of course, in the proper setting, but like, let's say if you're in
you're wow, boy.
Yeah. No, if you're in robe, right, or something after the gym, just get naked immediately. Like this is the best way to assert dominance over Zoomers, I find, because they're so
in the locker room.
Yeah, lockers. They are not like used to being naked around other men, even though like you could have some Zoomer who's like 6'3", Chad abs and everything. It's like he's not comfortable undressing, so just immediately just undress. They're so uncomfortable around it. They just look down, basically. That's
great. And you can aim the wet towel at them.
Yes.
No, to do the slap. Yeah. All right. Playing grab ass in the shower with Zoomers. Okay, I think that's enough for tonight. Almost 2 hours. Thank you everyone for coming. I see on the numbers today that we had quite a good turn up. We always enjoy people coming and listening. And next week, do we have anything concrete yet? No, I don't think so. I'm not going to make any
we
promises.
do actually. Hopefully,
really?
we'll get Liquid Swan.
Yes,
I think
yes.
he's in the chat here, and we're going to talk
That's
about
true.
his Praxarchy article, Exodus.
Yes, I thought that was the week after that, but that's actually next week. So next week we'll talk about Liquid Swan's article on the Praxarchy. So praxarchy.com, you can read all about it. For myself, there's my Twitter in the bio down below. Follow my shit posts and follow me retweeting Luddic Path's shit posts. And all other various socials. So give those a click. Remember to like the video, to comment if you want. That helps the algorithm. If you made it this far and not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. Really helps us out. Luddic Path, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, you could check out my YouTube, but I really want followers on Twitter. It gives me more neuron activation, so that's what I'm going to ask people to do, honestly. I mean, I have to do like a completely different style of shit posting. So I have like the CEO posting, the play yard bully posting. Sometimes I do sarcasm posting. So, I mean, it's all great. I'm getting better every day. So follow me on Twitter.
More bully posting.
Yeah. You're personally living rent-free in Jordan Peterson's head, Luddic.
Yep.
I can guarantee it.
Bully the Zoomer.
Burkal, anything you would like to share?
No.
Leo Borealis?
Well, there's always my Twitter feed, but unlike Luddic Path, I'm not getting better at it. I'm just getting worse. So peak content warning.
I don't think you're getting worse. I think you're just getting more, set in your ways, which I think is a good thing.
But I already was set in my ways. I'm gonna.
Yeah, but you're sort of like your tweets are stubbornly remaining the same style, right?
I'm gonna turn into like a daytime troll at this point. I mean, just complete ossification.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. To the gym.